The American people have spoken, and the bombshell results are sending a very direct message to Donald Trump. Is the commander-in-chief of chaos losing his grip, or is his strategy of shock and awe paying off? I have the details on this breaking story for you next. CNN just dropped an expose that reveals how American voters really feel about Trump's wrecking ball entrance into his second term. I'll unpack the eye-opening results of the report in just a moment, but first, let's hear from top analysts and politicians on Trump's handling of our economy, the life force of our nation. Is it playing well, or is it inducing panic? Let's dive in, first with Trump's own words, and then some bleak reactions from fellow Republicans.
Starting on day one of my new administration, we will end inflation and we will make America affordable again because the prices are too high. We may have short-term a little pain, and people understand that.
What about tariffs against our allies?
It will drive the cost of everything up. In other words, it'll be paid for by American consumers. I mean, why would you want to get in a fight with your allies over this?
Tariffs are a tax. When you tax something, you get less of it. So we'll probably get fewer imports, but then with retaliation, fewer exports. Smoot-Hawley was not a particularly successful round of tariffs back, helped spark the Depression. So I share the market's concern.
Wait, what? Senator Johnson said what about the stock market? Surely Wall Street responded well to the master plan by that businessman with all those bankruptcies? Have a look at this update on that, also prefaced by Trump's words. And on the other side, I'll share the bombshell that CNN dropped about how Americans really feel about Trumponomics.
Stock market will boom if I'm elected.
Let's begin with breaking news in Donald Trump's trade war. Stocks opening down sharply this morning. You see the Dow, S&P, and NASDAQ all in the red by several hundred.
But look, there are Main Street implications to all of this for regular Americans that have to pay for things that have already been expensive over the last 4 years. Those costs could rise further under these proposed tariffs. When you just talk about gasoline, for example, again, that 10% tariff specifically on Canadian energy likely to lead to increases of between 15 to 25 cents per gallon at the pump. And also when it comes to cars, this is a big one. The automotive industry is very deeply intertwined between our neighbors to the north and south. The average retail car price likely to rise by $3,000. And then you also look at the other types of goods that we import from Canada and Mexico. From Mexico, a lot of agricultural products, tomatoes, avocados. We also get beef and beer from them. And from Canada, you also look at some very similar types of products as well when you talk about beef as well. So look, the implications of this, I just can't underscore, are so wide ranging because these are our major trade partners. When it comes to China, Canada, and Mexico, they account for 42% of all imports to the United States as of last year. These are our major friends and trade partners.
Well, that's some pretty glum news, and call me crazy, but that does not feel like lowering prices on day one. But we know that Donald Trump would not tell a lie while campaigning, right? Right? Here's the report from CNN that shows how voting Americans now feel after just 2 weeks of a Trump presidency.
Something horrible has happened here. That's what's going on here, getting on my biggest New York Jewish accent I could. Trump's tariffs on Canada, China, Mexico. Look at this. Just 38% support. You don't have to be a mathematical genius to figure out that 51% oppose is larger than the 38% support. Look, Trump has done some fairly popular things in his first few weeks in office. This is not one of them. No, no, no. Horrible, 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 to quote Charles Barkley. The American folks are opposed to these tariffs. When you ask it specifically like this about the three countries, or if you ask it more vaguely about tariffs overall, they simply put, do not like it, Mr.
It's interesting. Even with China in the question, correct, people say that they are opposed to tariffs. The majority here, and there's not a majority on a lot of things these days. How about how Americans say they want to see Donald Trump focused in this first 100 days and whether tariffs should be a focus?
You know, the two big focuses for Trump in the polling are immigration and the economy. Tariffs ain't it, my dear friend. Tariffs ain't it. Trump should focus on tariffs. In November of 2024, when Ipsos asked it was 1%. Look at what happened in December of 2024. It doubled. It doubled, but to only 2%. When you double to only 2%, you know that the American people don't want Trump's focus to be here. They don't like it. They don't want his focus to be there. They want it to be on other issues.
Are they paying attention? Do they notice that this is happening?
Yeah, so the big question is, Trump has done a lot of things that are unpopular in the past, but the poll numbers haven't moved. That may be the case here, but I'm a little skeptical of that. Why? Take a look at weekly Google searches for tariffs. Look how much higher they are versus a year ago. They're up 2,400%. That reaches a 21-year high. You know folks are paying attention when there are more Google searches for that than for Taylor Swift, who almost always is in the top of Google searches.
There were more Google searches for tariffs than Taylor Swift?
Correct. In the past week, more Google searches for tariffs than for Taylor Swift. I never thought I'd see it happen, but American people are actually interested in tariffs in a negative fashion, it seems to be.
Interesting.
What I found interesting about that report is it did not discriminate between Trump and non-Trump voters. So you know there's a significant number of Trump supporters who are just now expressing concern and frantically searching for the definition of tariffs. Who could have predicted that? And at the risk of stating the obvious, a woefully uninformed and gullible base chose to believe the lie.
Starting on day one of my new administration, we will end inflation,
while ignoring the warnings from experts about the instability to come. The instability that is now here after just a few days. And now with Trump elected as a one-term president, the inevitable double cross begins. The very voters who place their trust in his populist and dishonest rhetoric will soon find themselves discarded as he pivots to serve the wealthy oligarchs who funded his return to power and now surround him. His administration is sure to abandon any pretense of an economic revolution that serves the people in favor of policies that benefit elite capitalists, leaving the working class to bear the heavy cost of their misplaced faith. I'm Dan, thanks for watching, and I welcome your comments below, and let's continue to occupy democracy together.